Have you ever wondered how fear, an emotion that often hinders us, could be transformed into something empowering like confidence? It's a fascinating subject, isn't it? Allow me to share an age-old Buddhist tale that beautifully illustrates this transformation. Once upon a time, in a quaint village tucked away in the mountains, lived a young monk named Ananda. Ananda was a devoted student of the Buddha, but he was plagued by a crippling fear of darkness. As the sun would set, Ananda's fear would rise, overshadowing his peace and wisdom. One day, the Buddha, noticing Ananda's distress, decided to help him overcome his fear. He handed Ananda a small, unlit oil lamp and instructed him to go to the cemetery at the stroke of midnight, place the lamp on a tombstone, and meditate until dawn. Ananda was terrified, but knew that the Buddha would not send him into danger without a reason. So, with trembling hands, he took the unlit lamp and set off for the cemetery. As Ananda sat in the cemetery, the darkness around him felt overwhelming. His fear was palpable, but he remembered the Buddha's teachings of mindfulness and began to focus on his breath, slowly calming his racing heart. Then, a gust of wind blew out his lamp. Ananda was engulfed in darkness, his worst fear realized. But instead of succumbing to his fear, he remembered the Buddha's teachings. He began to observe his fear, acknowledge it, and gradually, he started to understand it. With understanding came acceptance, and with acceptance, his fear began to lose its grip. As dawn broke, Ananda was not the same monk who had entered the cemetery. He was no longer a slave to his fear. Instead, he had transformed it into confidence. This tale of Ananda beautifully illustrates the Buddhist teaching that fear isn't something to be run from or battled against. Instead, fear can be acknowledged, understood, and eventually transformed. To summarize, the key points discussed today are as follows. Firstly, fear is a natural emotion that everyone experiences. What differentiates us is how we respond to it. Secondly, through the practice of mindfulness, we can observe and understand our fears. This understanding can then lead to acceptance. Lastly, acceptance is the key to transformation. Once we accept our fear, we can transform it into something empowering, like confidence. Ananda's journey from fear to confidence is not just a tale from the past, it's a timeless lesson that holds true for all of us today. So, the next time you find yourself gripped by fear, remember Ananda's story. And remember, darkness is not to be feared, for it is in the darkness that we often find our light.